Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to a high level best of 3 between today in the bottom left spawning as our blue Protoss player playing for Team Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And in the top right, the master of disaster, La Cucaracha. It is SOS. The man, the myth, the legend, playing for Team NV over here. SOS is a player that, of course, has won... Is it 2 World Championships? I think 1 BlizzCon, and he's also won the 100k Grand Final at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice in, I want to say it was 2015 or 2014 with a couple of proxy gateways. And this guy is an absolute beast. He plays anything, he plays everything. He's capable of it all. The guy that gave us the proxy nexus, the guy that gave us a proxy 4-gate against Terran, just building it in the wall. We've seen all of it out of him as he opens up with a core into Nexus here. Look at that. What are we looking at, buddy? Core into Nexus. No scout. Classic opening up with a proxy pylon. And now I'm very curious what SOS's plans are going to be. So far still on a single gas as he takes his second assimilator. Because we have seen core into Nexus builds before in PvP, but usually it is with a double gas as well, delaying that Nexus a bit further. Because now really the only option you have left is going for a fast warp gate and getting out a lot of warp gate units in case you are being proxied. And let's face it, that is indeed what is happening here, as Classic has a robotics facility at in an inappropriate location. We do not condone this type of behavior. It's on the high ground, it's absolutely mental. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see exactly how he's gonna figure that all out. As SOS with a chrono boost on warp gate. This makes sense because he doesn't have enough gas for a Stargate or for a very fast robo. His robo would be severely delayed, so he's gonna play either a double or a triple gate opener. But so theoretically, to me, this is impossible to hold. I don't entirely see what the plan is here. Now, if he were to play against a Stargate opener, SOS would be in a phenomenal spot. However, he's not playing against a Stargate opener. He's also oversaturating a gas right now, which never had any purpose in its entire lifespan of StarCraft 2. Gas can't be oversaturated. You don't get more gas with that. As he's not building any workers either. He's going to get out 3 Stalkers pre-warp gate. Then 2 gates will finish. He's going to have 5 Stalkers. If he's doing all right, if he's lucky, he's going to have 5 Stalkers by the time this hits. Surely that's not enough. Robo right now goes down, still oversaturating a gas. Hardly is outmining his opponent. Hell, he isn't really outmining his opponent at all, despite having an extra base. So this base is not even providing any value right now. You always need to get at least 28, 29 workers, so you're outmining your opponent. You can afford these extra batteries, but at this moment, SOS has legitimately 0 advantages, except this terrible shade. That is definitely an advantage here for SOS as he uses the super battery. It's gonna take out 2, perhaps even 3 adepts for free. This was god-awful play here coming out of Classic to start things off with. Losing 2 units. I think he killed a sentry, but that's definitely not worth it here. Super battery has been used as the Immortal is... Oh my god, he can't make this up. He finished the pylon. He's gonna need to kill his own pylon. As Classic elevators everything in the main base. There's a battery in the main as well as a pro pool commences. With some good target fire, perhaps a hold is possible. But perhaps it's also not quite possible as this prism is getting fairly low. Might die. So Immortal's gonna fall. So only 3 workers have gone down. Maybe? Maybe it's possible after all. Worker count still equal. There is an Immortal out for both players. As SOS gets a... oh my god, you can't make this up. With this surround, has a temporary hold at least. Probably does... He's gonna build an observer. That is an interesting move. That's a very interesting move. Right now, SOS is willing to fight in the middle of the map as well. He says, hey, I'm having a good old time. How good of a time are you having? And well, right now, Classic is not having a very good time whatsoever. He starts fighting these Stalkers. This is an okay fight for the Immortal, as long as the Immortal is just by itself. Another Immortal gets constructed. Good control here by Classic. So far, they're doing a good job with the micro. Needs to make sure that he doesn't lose this Immortal. He's gonna get a win here. He's gonna get a win. Takes out 2 Stalkers and an Immortal for free. warps in, what is that? 2 more Zealots? 2 Adepts? Okay. There are 0 Immortals out right now. So there's nothing here. It was a very odd move to move on the map. If you're up in Nexus already, but this is the magic of SOS. Sometimes he looks like a diamond player, and other times he also looks like a diamond player, but he destroys his opponents while doing so. And, well, this time around, it feels like he threw away a pretty significant lead that he had somehow created for himself. It's gonna... Classic has a double Adept Shade in the natural as well. It's gonna take out 2 workers. It means that the worker count's still very close over here. Are we gonna see a Disruptor? Yeah, we have a Disruptor behind all of this, as the Adepts are just out and about, just shading around, figuring out what they can do. So they get 5 kills. Perhaps 4 kills on the Adept. Yeah, 4 kills on the Adepts and 1 kill on the Immortal Stalker combination that went in towards the main base. I feel like a double Immortal drop towards the main would be huge at this moment. I really feel like they could have some serious power there. There is no Prism defensively for SOS. That means that Disruptors are much, much better than they should ever be. Here comes the Disruptor drop. Can't really drop it right in front of 2 Immortals. Perhaps a bit to the side. Target fire, not really there. The Disruptor just hits a single Immortal, really. Not the greatest control out of Classic, but he's gonna get another shot, right? That is the beauty of Disruptors. Actually, there's a second Disruptor already out. It's moving across the map. So we're seeing a 1-base Disruptor all-in coming out of Classic. After the initial Immortal all-in semi-failed and then semi-worked. They're gonna have another big fight, but without a Prism here defensively, this might be hard for SOS. 1 Disruptor shot's going to connect. Both players losing 1 Immortal here. Another Disruptor shot, might get a Stalker. Yep, will get a Stalker. That's Classic pulls ahead in supply. 17-34, Super Battery is being activated. These Immortals are currently out of range of that. There we go. Gonna keep everything alive. Prism about to finish up finally for SOS, but the batteries are now dry. And that means that there's no more healing available. And that most likely Classic is going to be picking up this win. He shouldn't have, but he is going to. After that weird move out by SOS. Classic picks up game number 1. Truly an odd first game there. Initially already, I look at those build orders and I think to myself, it is impossible that SOS holds the initial push. And Classic makes some, honestly, pretty big blunders. Losing 2 Adepts for free isn't great. I think the follow-up attack also had some issues. And somehow, some way, SOS manages to stabilize it. And he moves across the map with 2 Stalkers and an Immortal, which to me is incomprehensible. In my mind, the proper play there is to go for a scout on his opponent's natural. If he sees no natural on the opponent's side, all he needs to do is survive. Then why would you fight in the middle of the map if you can fight near your batteries? Losing 2 Stalkers and an Immortal, that causes some issues. It allowed Classic to then follow up with some harassment with the Prism, as well as the 2 Adepts. Got a couple of worker kills, I think 6 in total, or 7. And then eventually, with a superior army and similar eco, manages to win the game. So it is very surprising to me. Very, very surprising. First of all, that SOS holds, and then second, that SOS loses. He's a mysterious player. A very mysterious player. He makes things happen that don't happen in your average StarCraft 2 game. This time around, we see both players with a standard 2-gate opener. It might be an expand, might not be an expand. I'm curious to see how SOS will fare in a more standard scenario against Classic. Both players. Cybernetic score finishes up. We're gonna see Stalker out of the SOS Master. And double Adept here for Classic. Ooh, forward pilot. I'm never so sure what to think about it. I recently started going back to building my pylons a bit closer to my mineral line, so it's less exposed. Because you can still put the battery further forward. What's the point really of having the pylon that far in front? I'm not entirely sure. It feels like laziness in a way. It's like, oh, let me just plop it down over here. It's like, well, that sucks. As well, I think this probe's gonna die. At the same time, we have a Sentry follow-up for Classic and a Sentry follow-up for SOS. Both players will throw down a Nexus as well. Cute little start. Nice opener. I generally like Stalker Sentry builds or Adept Sentry builds. The Adept Sentry is a little bit risky. If SOS were to open up with a 4 Stalker opener here, that could have been kind of scary. That really could have been kind of scary. There's no units being produced right now on this, and that might trigger somewhat of a defensive response. Maybe a chrono boost on the warp gate is something we could see. Ooh, a robotics facility? Because you might expect there to be a Stargate. I'm not entirely... I'm very confused by this robo, actually. Because the read you can make after seeing only 2 units is as like, hey, buddy, this is a... this is a Stargate, perhaps. That's what I would think if I'm Classic here. I'd have my Stalkers in my main base. I might chrono my warp gate to have another set of Stalkers out in time. That's not at all what Classic is doing. Classic believes he's being all in. See, he's saving his energy. He's not using it for scouting. Or Classic is planning on all-inning himself. That's also a possibility, of course. As SOS found these 2 adepts, almost takes one out, but not quite. This Twilight Council is ridiculously late, by the way. Can I just say that? Is ridiculously late. A lot of cash in the bank there. As these adepts, both of them are going to get force fielded. Well, semi-force fielded. As no workers are going to go down. 2 adepts for 0 workers. But 3 force fields have been used. Now, usually using force fields is not the end of the world. But if you're playing against someone that is planning on pushing you with a prism, maybe having those force fields is kind of useful. SOS with an extremely high unit count. Now wanting to expand into a 3rd base already. 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, Forge behind this for Classic. This is a very different type of setup from what we usually see. Very different type of setup. Did he just rush out a prism to go for a double adept drop? No, that's not at all. Okay, he's gonna do a sentry stalker drop to the main and a 2 adept run by towards what, the 3rd? I don't even know. It makes no sense. This series is already ridiculous. Stalker's just standing at home defensively. Nothing going on over here. No pilot in the far left corner of SOS's base. Does Classic not get something on? I thought we were going to see some fire from SOS, but it's Classic who's bringing the builds here. This looks fairly bad for SOS, to be honest. It's got to be caught out of position completely. Almost feel like a counter-attack here is the correct call, and I think that's what SOS is going for. This enters the main base right now. Instant recall or counter-attack. Oh, it's a counter-attack. So we're gonna see a little bit of a weird scenario here, in which I think Classic should be favored, as he has this Immortal, but if this battery dies, or well, if it gets depowered before the Immortal is out, this might be okay. There's not a whole lot of damage here for Classic on this side of the map. I'm not even sure if he can win this fight in particular. These adepts are going to get surrounded by the probes. Yes, currently SOS is losing more workers, but at the same time, SOS is going to take out this base, and he should be capable of cancelling the 3rd as well. So although the worker count might be bad for SOS, the base count is looking mighty fine, as he's going to have a 3rd up. He's going to clear this at some point in the future. There's no gas right now in the bank, which means he can't warp in any stalkers. Blink is about to finish up. Sentry stays around for potential force fields. Yeah, this base is going to get killed as well. And, well, Classic, I mean, his push is running out. This single stalker is going to be enough for now. We have worker production. It's 35 versus 35. And Classic, after a very odd build order, now finds himself in also just kind of a weird position. In a bad position, to be frank. Ooh, gets force fielded out with the Immortal as well as the probe. GG gets called. SOS wins game number 2. Once again, just a very weird one. I've never seen games like this before. Not quite like this. Not quite like this. And that brings us to map number 3 on Roodhuset Station. Not only a map in StarCraft 2, but also known as world's most beautiful subway station in the world. Well, some people say it is. Probably the Swedish themselves. I think it's located in Stockholm. It has this sandy vibe to it. If you could just Google pictures of it. Roodhuset. As we are going to... Weird map, weird playstyle. It is SOS for you. Nexus first into a 17 gate. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Chrono boost on these workers as well. And I want to... Oh, yes, there we go. Classic. Classic... That's the thing with Classic, you know? Classic looks at this like, hey, I'm not going to get abused. He moved his probe away. I thought he was going to proxy, but he's not proxying, so... I guess he is going to get abused a little bit. I think the common knowledge is that when you're playing one gate expansion versus Nexus first, is that Nexus first is better. The problem with Nexus first is that it is worse in defending things. However, Radhuset Station has no reasonable blinking locations except for this one. Like, there's no way to truly attack up this ramp. Like, this is a tight wall if you add in another gate as well. And there is a third base included for free as well. So Nexus Fair is actually a very viable opener here on this map, where it absolutely isn't a viable opener on other maps. Just something to keep in mind for now. And the eco of the Nexus First is a little bit better than the eco of the gate in the Nexus, in the core type of stuff. However, your tech is going to be delayed as well. So there are some trade-offs, but generally, I think the way that people talk about it, this map is better for Nexus First players. It's a lot of gas investment. He's not building workers the entire way through. He got so much gas. I'm not an SOS specialist, but I think after he kills this worker, he's gonna throw down 2 Stargates. This smells like what's about to happen, because he's mining so much freaking gas. It doesn't make any sense not to use that for something, because he's given up a Stalker advantage for it. And as a result, this Oracle might be difficult to deal with. So there needs to be a trick here. Yeah, there we go. This makes so much sense to me. Like, this actually makes so much sense to me. He needs to add a second one, though, or he's just going to be behind anyway. But he's going to have better eco and double infrastructure. There is still an issue, because the first Oracle is going to be hard to deal with. Is he just playing single Stargate? Look how much gas he still has. I'm surprised by that. I'm very surprised by that. It's kind of a halfway Phoenix transition. No, not a real one. It's kind of there. Okay, I'm not as huge a fan of this as I initially thought I was going to be. We have a faster Twilight behind this already here for Classic, who probably is also going to get a faster third base, because he needs to invest less in gate units. The Oracle pops in over here. Does he see the Stargate? It doesn't see the Stargate. That's a pretty big deal. That is actually a pretty big deal. It's frustrating. Phoenix now being chronoed out. It's time to get this third here, Mr. SOS. Yeah, third is faster for Classic. Twilight faster for Classic. Eco, I mean, it's good. It's not great, though. I mean, especially because a couple of workers are not mining right now. Phoenix does end up missing these Oracles. There's energy on these Nexi for recall, so that's nice as well. There's only 2 Stalkers. That's minus 4 or 5 workers. Yep, there we go. Look at that micro, baby. He's just... That was some beautiful kiting. That was some stutter stepping, whatever you call it. That was real nice. That was such a smooth movement. Wow. That looked really sick. Puff, puff, puff. Absolutely destroyed that. Lovely to see. Really just lovely to see. Got 6 kills there. On top of that is up in infrastructure. Phoenixes have no real value right now for SOS, while this Oracle still has significant value for Classic. So despite having the Nexus First opener, I think the follow-up made so little sense that right now, Classic finds himself in a pretty playable position. Now this could have been different, of course. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Triple gate proxy. Yes, triple gate proxy. So that's gonna go up to 5 gates. But Classic is already on 3. He has a robo on the way. There's a battery. This isn't much of an issue, especially because Classic is getting a lot of info for free. Like, he needs to scout this third base one more time. It's actually pretty important. For now, Classic is moving out, and that is absolutely the last thing he wants to be doing. He wants to be sitting at home, relaxing, having a beer with his mates. Remember when I killed 6 workers? God, those were the golden days. Put a coin in that jukebox that plays his favorite song from the early 60s. Ooh, gold base here gets constructed. It's gonna get taken out. Awkward situation, because there's no blink quite yet here for SOS. So SOS gonna be forced to cancel this base. We're gonna need to see a recall here. It's gonna blink it to the net. It's gonna blink it to the net. At the same time, though, 2 Stalkers do get picked up. Once again, we're gonna get a very odd scenario. As hello says Classic. And hello says SOS at the same time. Blink finishing up in 10 seconds from now. Immortal would have been huge, but it ain't here and it won't start. Why? I don't know. And now we go here with that super battery, as well as the Immortal starting. Super battery gets sniped instantly. Stalkers on the other side of the map not doing too hot. 17 Stalkers for SOS against the 9 of Classic. And that means that if SOS micros this well and doesn't allow this Immortal to come out, please target down this pylon. Are you joking? kill the pylon, right? Yeah, it's gonna shoot the pylon. That's very important here. Now we're gonna get a recall back home. Stalkers plus Phoenix here. I think this is fine for SOS still. Should be capable of warping in some units. It's not quite doing that. It's gonna be forced out. Oh, is he forced out? Really? He just walked away. He has freaking 10 Stalkers here and 2 Phoenix, 1 with a lift. He's gonna run away. That means that his Immortal might be capable of finishing up. More Stalkers moving in right now. I think this is the wrong target here that he's going for. Could lift the Immortal potentially. Blinks in, misses a shot. Beautiful blinkbacks here coming out of Classic. So we're gonna get the lift right now. Blinks forward, snipes the Immortal. And the Stalker count better here for SOS still. 10 versus 3. Another Immortal's getting chrono boosted out desperately. There's +1 already. That means that Immortals are 3 volleying Stalkers, or 3-shotting these Stalkers right now, rather than 4-shotting. That's huge. As is there even a Cyber Core? There's no, there is a Cyber Core. Has been sniped, but has been rebuilt as well. Of course, batteries are on the way. Should have figured it out by that. As Zealots are being built as well. Loads of cash in the bank for SOS, who doesn't seem to have a probe on the map. I mean, he could, because he killed the rocks, and he can just leave his base right now. The fact that he's not macroing behind this is pretty darn poor. He's adding 5 more Zealots rather than Stalkers. Now wants to go for the gold again. He's down 7 workers. He's down an upgrade, soon to be 2. And I think that Classic has managed to stabilize in an insane turn of events, really. This made no sense. I don't think Classic should have been capable of holding. Once again, just poor execution by SOS, potentially costing him the game as he starts fighting these rocks. It's going to take a little while to get through those. They look tiny, but they have 2k HP. I actually know how much armor they have. Maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3. I have no clue. Maybe 17. I actually have no clue. I don't know. I don't know how much armor they have. So 3 more gates being added in. Forge as well. Next is about to finish up. But don't forget, the gold is nice because it gets you minerals a little bit quicker. But it doesn't give you better eco if your opponent has more workers. And that's not really how it works. Both players have a full 3-base saturation. And one player has a gold. It's going to be very similar in mineral income. So this is not going to be some huge comeback mechanic, unless he would have double expanded. But that's not at all what is happening here. He's getting charged, but I mean, this is not an environment in which the charge lot thrives, so to say. Right? This really is not. And this also isn't, because this is a full wall. Like, you need to mine that first. I am very confused as to what the plans are right now. Is SOS gonna blink over it? That seems insane. I don't think he quite knows what he wants to do yet either. He's mining from this gold right now. There's 800 minerals in the bank, 200 gas. It's gonna be down 2 upgrades as 2 Archons finish up here. Oh, this prison, perhaps in some trouble. It's gonna fly over these gates. Let's see who spots who. Prism sees the gates. Gates don't see the prism. Oof. Templar Archives on the way for SOS as well. Should be adding some gases in that case. Can't fight Templar Archives versus Templar Archives if you have less gas. It's simply not possible. You need a higher Archon count in order to win these fights. +3 starts instantly here. As well, Classic's little prism is going to cause some trouble. Going to cause some serious trouble here. Still no gases. Still no fort base. We now have a battery. We have a cannon. 8 gates for both players. And here comes a warp in. Let's take a look at the execution here. Classic aware of this pylon. Let's see. How are you going to execute this, my dear friend Classic? How are you going to execute this? Okay, we have Zealots and Templars being warped in. It's a nice defensive move. Phoenix gets constructed. SOS is up in supply right now. Down in army though. Like, he has a huge army consisting of 29 Zealots and 13 Stalkers, but trust me, 5 Immortal, 3 Archons is significantly better. I think the only solution right now actually is going to be to play Disruptors, because there's no way you're getting a better army than your opponent. It's not possible. So you need to use tricks, and Disruptors are tricks. And it's a beautiful, powerful trick, the Disruptor. It's a trick that I'd recommend to everyone. 2 more batteries get constructed here at the fort base. Classic, I think, understands his position so well. This is one of the key things that Classic does well. It's just the understanding of whether he has an advantage, whether he needs to attack or defend. And this sounds very simple, but it's often difficult in a game of incomplete information to know exactly what you need to be doing. These two batteries, I don't think many players would have built. Classic does, though. Classic does build them. Doesn't have charge on a high Zealot count. Zealots are a little bit stuck as well behind his arc on Super Battery, though, being fairly active here. These Prisms. Prism is going to save a couple of Immortals. Stasis Wards used aggressively by SOS. That is beautiful. Look how much he got there. Might actually end up dealing some significant damage here while half of the army is still in stasis. There goes the snipe on the Prism. Immortal's still gone. Zealot's still gone, but despite that huge stasis, I believe that Classic is still going to win the moment these units unfreeze. There we go, +3 about to finish up. This has gotten extremely close though, and I don't think it ever should have been. Insane stasis ward, but it won't be enough as Classic is going to clean this up with his slow Zealot Immortal composition. Has a 4th base against 3 bases. Is up 2 entire upgrades as SOS fought before +2. Once again, SOS tries to go through this wall. So, oh wait, right. Still minerals there, never mind. And I think at this point, Classic could start moving out on the map. It's not necessary for him to do it, but I think it would be allowed. I don't think anyone would blame him for it. And he's indeed moving across to these gateways, as that's where SOS is trying to take a stand. +3 versus +2. There's so many Zealots. There's a similar amount of Archons, and there's still 2 Immortals in the back as well. Oracle pops in here, and honestly, decent fight out of SOS. Like, way better than I think it should have been, but it doesn't matter. GG gets called. Classic wins this series, and what a weird little series this was. And both players made it that way. Usually, when series are weird, you know, it's like, oh, SOS was involved. Makes sense. But here it was Classic as well, who was truly making it weird with some absolutely wild moves. That's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.